Welcome everyone to the 22nd class of our Abhidhamma study with Siyata Pariyatti Likara. Today we'll be covering the introduction to mental factors of Cetasika. Before we start our class, we would like Siyata to lead us in opening with Namo Tassa. Siyata, whenever you are ready.
Okay. Let's start our study reciting Namo Tassa 3 times together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Thank you very much, Siyata, for leading us with Namo Tassa. We will now begin the Abhidhamma lecture. Siyata, whenever you are ready. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Gopi Future. Let's start our today's Abhidhamma study. So, before we continue further explanation, I need to reintroduce about the four ultimate reality. This is very important basis of our Abhidhamma study. So whoever study Abhidhamma start from the classification of the ultimate reality, which is called Paramattha. So the Citta, Cetasika, Rupa, Nibbana. Among these four kinds of Paramattha, we have finished about the study of Citta. You know, only 3 you left. You already finished 1. And also, I have to remember what we have learned is consciousness, Citta. So if we talk about the mind and matter, you know, the mind and matter. So the mind composed of 2 kinds, consciousness and mental factor in this way. So in the Sutta, the word Citta, like the Cittan Dandan Sukha Vahan, or like this. And in many Sutta, Buddha speak out in the discourse by the Pali word Citta, but it's never mentioned about the Cetasika in the Sutta. In the Abhidhamma, the nature of the ultimate realities are explained with reference to their specific characteristic. At the time, the usage appear in the Sutta teaching Citta, come into 2 parts of the consciousness and mental factors, or you see the Citta and Cetasika. That's why you have to understand. And then the Pali word Citta in the Sutta, when you see, is referring to the Citta and Cetasika together. As, only when you know that the classification come with the Vedana or Sanya, you know, the Sanya separate from the word Citta, like this. Also there in that case, in the classification of the 5 aggregates, like this, for example, in the 5 aggregate. So there, the Rupa Khandha, this is materialities. Okay, just keep aside. And if we continue, Vedana Khandha, that's Vedana, it's mental factors. And Sanya Khandha, Sanya is also perception, mental factors. Sankhara Khandha is also the 50, the remaining 15 mental factors, like this we already explained when I introduced the 5 aggregates, classification of 5 aggregates. Then after that, the word Vijnana Khandha, the word Vijnana is used there. So in that case, specifically the mentalities there are divided into four. Then, and this usage or Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Vijnana, referring to the mentalities. But there, the consciousness is used as the Vijnana, other than Citta. But in the others, many Sutta, the Buddha used the Citta like this continuously. That refers to mostly we emphasize the consciousness as a leader of the group of mentalities. When the mentalities group arise, we consider the consciousness as a Citta. For example, that Citta also used in other Pali terms, that is called Mano. So here I bring three terms to explain how the word Citta is used in the Sutta teaching. Because I will not explain more other usage. It will be confuse you if I develop more. So let's try to remember three usage: Citta and Vijnana. Then Mano. That is Mano or Mana. You can notice that. So that was in the teaching of Dhammavada. This is called the Mano Pupangama Dhamma. So the mind is the leader. That's mind referring to the consciousness. Like this is the leader of the Dhamma. Is Dhamma referring to the manifestos? Like this, when you read the commentary of the Dhammavada, and that say the Dhamma in that case not referring to every phenomenon. This Dhamma, the word Dhamma refers to only manifestos, Cetasika. So conscious in that case, the teaching can be understood in this way. Consciousness is the leader of manifestos, mental group, like this. So in that way, the consciousness is mentioned by the word Mano. So we understand the Citta, Vijnana, and Mano. Okay, why I explain about the usage consciousness, referring to consciousness, or 89 types or 121 types, all used by the Citta, because these all share the same characteristic of cognition of the object, cognize the object, any object. So when the mentalities arise, that mentalities cognize the consciousness and cognize the any object. The nature of cognizing the object is done by the consciousness, the characteristic. So the other mentalities are called the Cetasika. So Cetasika, Citta and Ika, Cetasika also. So they are also Citta. Citta is another synonym of the Citta. So you can Citta and Citta pronunciation is very similar. That's why Citta refers to Citta, consciousness. Ika, okay, so it depends on arising. Arise depends on the consciousness. It means the following to the consciousness. According to the Dhammavada teaching, they are the followers. Manifestos are followers of the consciousness. That's why in this title, the introduction to manifestos. So in this case, what is manifesta? You have to identify. What is manifestos? Okay, it's mentalities arising depending on the consciousness. It means not consciousness. These are called manifestos, Cetasika. Okay, let's continue about the Cetasika. So before we continue talking about the Cetasika, so let me explain. So here, this is just repetition. We already explained about the Abhidhamma and Paramattha. So Abhidhammatas are the meaning or the context explained in the Abhidhamma, in the teaching of Abhidhamma. That is called Abhidhammata. So Paramattha is the phenomena. Those have the specific characteristic of their own. And this is called the Paramattha. So in the Abhidhamma, the context are, we can find 5 contexts, of the Citta, Cetasika, Rupa, Nibbana, and Paññatti are explained in the Abhidhamma, in the teaching of Abhidhamma, because the concept and also their Bukkala Paññatti, that is the books of Abhidhamma, which is called Bukkala Paññatti. They are talking about the individual, but actually, according to the teaching of Abhidhamma, if we identify by the ultimate nature, there's no individual. But in the Abhidhamma, it is mentioned. So that's why the Paññatti also included under that classification of Abhidhammata. But for the Paramattha, only 4. So this is already explained. So absolute truth. So individual or Bukkala is not absolute truth because it can divide it into the parts. After division of the parts, dividing into the parts, no more individual, no more Bukkala. It means that individual is not existing in its own nature. In this way, if we remove the Paññatti not existing in the form of the ultimate truth or absolute truth, and we get only 4 Paramattha. So Abhidhammata and Paramattha. There, the first one, consciousness. So it cognizes or aware to know the object, aware know the object. This is the nature of consciousness. If we classify, it comes in the 89 or 121. We already studied. Yeah. So now we will study the second one, Cetasika, which is called mental fetters or mental state or mental concomitants. These are English translation. But the English usage will be a little bit different from the Pali reference. But anyway, we use the Cetasika. It's better if we talk about the mental fetters or mental states, mental concomitants. Sometimes it can be incomplete expression to the meaning of Cetasika. But in the explanation, so mental phenomena, we can say that mental phenomena is not consciousness, but it arises along with the consciousness, performing diverse functions. Okay, so here in the number, there are 52 mental fetters. Each of them have their respective function, their respective nature, respective function. That's why we can identify one to another, one from another. If they share, like the all consciousness share the same characteristic of cognizing the object. Like if they share like the consciousness, we cannot identify. But in this case, the Cetasika, every mental fetters have the specific function they perform. Within that function, we will identify what is the which mental fetters, which Cetasika. Okay, this is the thing. So then for Rupa, Nibbana, and Paññatti, we don't need to repeat here. So we'll continue here. Okay, so let's review. if we talk about the mental factors or Cetasika that arise with the consciousness, this combination of the consciousness and Cetasika, or Citta and Cetasika, is called the mentalities. Mentalities. Okay, so let's talk about that. The things in the universe, beings or things. So if we say that something is animate or living, this is called beings. This also the combination of the factors, the mental or physical process. We can see the two processes: the process of mentalities, the process of the materialities. These two processes come together. Generally, we call the beings. Sometimes only one process in Arupa Bhumi. For Arupa beings, only one process of mentalities is called beings, living beings. For the Asanya Satta, only one process of materialities is called beings, still being, because Asanya Satta is being. Okay, so the other realm of existence, the living beings are regarded as the combination of two processes, mentalities and materialities. So to become obvious, easy to understand, you look back yourself. You have the physical body as the material process. So if you're sitting there, your posture is there. A group of materialities arising in their process, the former materialities are passing away, and then the following materialities are taking place. In this way, your physical body is sitting there. At the same time, when you are listening the explanation, I'm following that the mentality groups are continuing. So in this way, true combination of two processes is called that you, that are you, and that are me, like this. So this is the being. And if you is watching the screen, the mobile phone or computer, it doesn't matter. That screen only, the process of materiality, no mentality there. So we can say, okay, this is the process of mentality, and for the things is materiality. So in combination, we call the beings. Then, so if we explain according to the Abhidhamma, this is the process of materialities and process of mentality only. They are arising in their nature, sabhava, intrinsic nature. Okay, that we already watched, so we will continue here. Among them, let's talk about the process of mentality. Okay, although we see the process when they arise, the Citta and Cetasika arise together because the Cetasika is, as I said, the mentalities arise depending on the consciousness. Without consciousness, you cannot arise. And also consciousness is not arising. Here, consciousness, Citta is also not arise, segregated from the mental factors. That means the consciousness, although the leader, it is a leader, but it cannot come as a single phenomena. So it comes with a group. Group means the followers are Cetasika. So whenever mentality arises, we can understand this is in group. So among them, Citta is principal, as I said in the teaching of Dhammavara, Manobopangama Dhamma, like this. So this is the leader. And here the mental factors, mental state, or mental concomitant is this is in the classification second type. It is mentioned in the Abhidhamma Sangaha, the original book of the comprehensive manual of Abhidhamma. There, Cito Yuddha Dhamma, the usage, Pali usage is used in this way. Cito Yuddha Dhamma. Cito is Citta, as I said. Cetasika, Citta referring to the consciousness. Yuddha associated. Dhamma, the Dhamma has the large and the broad meaning. But here, only mentality associated with consciousness is called Dhamma in this case. So what are these? These are called Cetasika. So when the word Cetasika is defined in the Abhidhamma Sangaha, Cito Yuddha Dhamma, this is the explanation to understand what it means, Cetasika. But in the later scholars' explanation, the word Cetasika is not used in the Sutta. And that's why they thought that this is later development. That is, in the Sutta, the Buddha usually explain Citta many times, but not mention Cetasika. That is, okay. So need to explain in the Abhidhamma teaching, but in the Abhidhamma teaching, in the Paṭhana also, that many times Citta, Cetasika, Dhamma, like this. Hetu Sambuddhakana Dhammana Smutana Jarubana, like this. And in the Citta, Cetasika, Dhamma usually found in the Abhidhamma teaching. But the later scholar, they regard the Abhidhamma as the later development, the modern scholar. But anyway, when we study Abhidhamma, the word Cetasika is the one of the important word we have to understand. So that Cetasika is defined as Cito Yuddha Dhamma. Cito Yuddha Dhamma, the Dhamma associated with consciousness. Dhamma associated with consciousness is called Cetasika. Okay, so if we use easily, Cetasika, okay, it's easy, 52, easy. But if we need to explain what is Cetasika, it means the mental states, or here mental state associated with consciousness is called Cetasika. Okay, so here, when we say associated with, to mean that they come together and also have the nature of association. Only mentalities and mentalities and another mentality have the nature of association. This is called the Sampayutta. You may heard about that. In the Paṭhana, Sampayutta Paccaya. The Sampayutta Paccayo, Vibhutta Paccayo. It is. Their Sampayutta association nature can apply only in the mentalities. So one mentalities to another mentality. We can say when they are associated each other, this is association. But for the materialities, so materialities to mentalities, mentalities to materialities, that is not associated because they have a different nature. So here, if we say associated, association, this we can understand, okay, this is in both sides. Then Dhamma are mentalities. Because when we talk about the phenomena Dhamma, or many materialities also Dhamma, mentalities also Dhamma, and they are arising at the same time in our body and mind. At the same time you are listening, and the hearing consciousness and mental factor arising, and also your physical body arising continuously. But if we talk about the association, the two processes, they are not associating each other, because only mentalities and another mentality can be considered as the associated factors. Okay, so Jito Yuta, Sambayuta, like this, you see the Yuta and Sambayuta. So Jito Yuta Dhamma reference to the another mentality, which is not consciousness. These are called Cetasika. There, in the cognitive elements, in cognitive process, the Citta is a consciousness here. Citta reference to consciousness is the principle. So, what about Cetasika? The Cetasika are assistants because they arise depending on the consciousness. So, as I mentioned, the mentality arising depending on the consciousness. But that arise depending on the consciousness is called Cetasika. That's why they cannot take the principal role because consciousness already take as a leader. So they are assistants. So they assist by performing more specific texts. We will see what are the specific texts of each Mandaphadas, each Cetasika. So in which case they become assistant. This means in the cognition of the object. So consciousness cognize, consciousness know, or consciousness aware the object. In that process, in that action, the mandate factors are assistant, considered as the assistant in the action of cognizing the object. But actually, it is done by the consciousness itself. So this is the relationship between consciousness and Mandaphadas, or Citta and Cetasika. Okay, so how they assist to the consciousness in the case of cognition of the object? It means they just perform their specific text. They are not cognizing. Because if they cognize the object, we cannot identify consciousness and Mandaphadas. Because they don't have the nature of cognizing the object, the nature of knowing the object, which only has the consciousness. Consciousness have that one. But the Mandaphadas, they perform their specific text and consider it as the assistant in the manner of cognition, the object. So now you listen the voice. At the time, to cognize what is me. The Mandaphadas are working in their own text, So feeling, Mandaphadas are feeling, which is called Vedana Cetasika. So it feel. Sanya Cetasika, the perception. It keep in mind like this. So each Mandaphadas, each Cetasika working their specific text is giving the assistance to the consciousness. Because they arise together here, the Mandaphadas cannot arise without Citta. And also the consciousness, Citta, cannot arise completely segregated from the Mandaphada. It does not mean so there must be this Mandaphada or like this. But the consciousness must be in any group of mentality. But for we already studied the jhana. Second jhana, there's no vitaka. Although there's no vitaka, the consciousness still arises like this. And in the third jhana, there's no vitaka vichara, but still consciousness arises together with the other Mandaphadas, other Cetasika. On the other case, so first jhana case, both vitaka and vichara arise. But without the consciousness, it cannot arise. This is the reason, why the mental state associated with consciousness are called Cetasika. they arise depending on as a followers, as an assistant to the consciousness. Okay, so here, if we see, this is already introduced in the former lessons. Here, the how akusala consciousness arise. So this is the general, not specific explanation, because here the mental factors are many mental factors here. Altogether, 27 mental factors are in the group. But actually, when it arises, actually, the greed and hatred will not arise together. That's why the greed are the mental factors associated with greed and the mental factors associated with hatred. They will not arise together. But okay, we can see when akusala consciousness arises, but here the consciousness, actually, consciousness has the same nature, cognizing the object, this one. But coming together with the greed delusion or hatred delusion, or delusion is we can consider this is akusala, because greed rooted, hatred rooted, delusion rooted, or considered as the in the classification of consciousness is akusala. Okay, so for the consciousness is it just perform it just cognize the object, and when the greed arises together with the consciousness, so it performs the specific function of greed, the greedy situation. And for the round view, it holds, given the keeping in mind in round way. This is round view. A concept that as a price to make the highest way of thinking, or like this. And for hatred, another way. In this way, the consciousness, the mental factor, these mental phenomena are performing their specific text, although they arise together with the consciousness and together with the other mental state. Because of that, they are not missing each other. In one blink period, millions of consciousness are arising. How we can identify? Because they don't have, because they have the specific characteristic. The Buddha identified. Oh, this is volition, jirana. It's different from perception, sanya. It is. Also, this one different from feeling. They have the specific text to perform. That's why we can identify, or the Buddha identified. Well, this nature is very difficult to identify. When we study Abhidhamma, we think it is very hard. Even to remember, it's very hard. Consider. So penetrate into the nature and giving the name, giving the proper name, how difficult. That's the only Buddha can do that, like this. So they are according to the Theravada Abhidhamma literature explanation. Even Brahmacari Buddha cannot do that. So only the Buddha can do is the example is given that different rivers, from the water from the different rivers come together in the ocean. That if someone pick up the cup of water and the taste, this is come from the Ganges River or Irrawaddy River or somewhere, and it will be easier. In the ocean, all the waters come in the salty taste, come into salty taste. But still, if someone can identify, okay, this is the super genius, but still, that one is considered as easier compared to identifying the mentalities in their name. Because, for us, I know my mind is arising. I feel something. Now, that's all, that if you are living in common way of living. Or when you meditate also, running around like this. But for the Buddha, penetrating into the nature and giving the name, this is volition, this is perception, this is feeling, this is context, and this is greed and hatred, like this. Giving this specific name to the mentality is how difficult. Because they are arising after, they're given the name and explanation. Now we are learning many way of explanation. We are learning, or we trying to identify this from another. Also, still consider that Abhidhamma is very difficult. Okay, but actually, by the work of the senior teacher, Abhidhamma become easier. No, not that difficult in this time. Okay, so now here, in the inner cycle, the manifestors, we don't say this is good or bad. You can say this is the natural one, and the context of feeling, because we can see the good or bad in both sides, but they are not themselves. It's not good or bad. Only when they arise with the unwholesome manifestors or greed or hatred or delusion or the others, they consider this. This is the group of bad mentalities, akusala. Like this. Here you see the consciousness is very simple, just cognizing the object. And the inner cycle also, you cannot say which one is good or which one is bad in this case, but only when the outer cycle, greed, hatred, delusion, and the other manifest are all akusala. This is an akusala cycle, leaded by the greed, hatred, and delusion, lobha, dosa, moha. And also here, very important factor, shamelessness or wrong. How do you understand in Pali which one? Shamelessness or wrong. In Pali?
Ahirika.
Right, ahirika. And fearlessness of wrong. Anuttapa. These are very important. Two words are very important. Buddha pointed out these are the committing any akusala action caused by these two. Okay, ahirika and anuttapa. And do you know the opposite of these two?
Hiri and Uttapa.
Right. Hiri and Uttapa. In the sutta it is mentioned these are lokapala dhamma. Lokapala dhamma, the protection of the world. When the shame, the moral shame for wrongdoing or moral fear to wrongdoing, the individual will not commit any wrongdoings to charita. That's why it is it's considered as a protection or lokapala. Okay, so in this slide, I just want to show how manifesta arise with the consciousness. This is the group, but when we observe in realities in very fast moment, but this is the way we are studying consciousness and then the other manifesta. So our consciousness is the principle or the base. The manifesta based on depending on the consciousness, citta, it arises. That's why they are called Cetasika. Okay, so all the phenomena are considered as Cetasika, and the central one is citta. Okay, so these manifestas, when they arise, how we can say by the name of Cetasika? So there are 4 characteristics. Characteristic of the Cetasika. Ekupada arise together with consciousness. Arise together with consciousness. And Eka Nirodha, in Pali, Eka Nirodha, season. Nirodha is season. Cease together with the consciousness. And Eka Lambana, okay, So consciousness never arise without object. So there must be any object when the consciousness arises. And so if there's no object, no consciousness. Okay, so here, when the consciousness take any object, they follow, the mental factor follows. That's why the Eka Lambana, they have, Cetasika have the same object with the consciousness. And Eka Vatuka, when the consciousness arises, mostly, in the specific realm or existence, except the Arupa realm. In Arupa realm, there's no materialities. So in the other realm of existence, when the consciousness arises, consciousness based on based on any base. Base is called the Vatu. Yeah, Vatu. The Pali word Vatu is base. So there are 6 bases. It is explained in the chapter 3 of Abhidhamma Lecture. Chapter 3. Chawatuni, like this. 6 bases. This is not difficult. Ein sensitivity. Inside our ein, there's the sensitivity, the maturity, specific maturity, which is called the ein sensitivity. It can capture the visible form. That is called the ein sensitivity. So when the seeing consciousness or ein consciousness arises, it arises based on the ein sensitivity. For those who does not have ein sensitivity anymore, it means some people from the path, no causa karma, and no ein sensitivity, and they cannot see. And also for some people, after being born in during lifetime, that due to any reason, the ein base is damaged. At that time, also ein sensitivity is not there, so then he cannot see because of the absence of the base. Ein consciousness cannot arise. So in the same way, ear sensitivity, eye sensitivity, ear sensitivity, nose sensitivity, tongue sensitivity, body sensitivity, and the last one is Hariyawatu, which is called Hariyawatu. It's a specific maturity inside the body. So there are 6 bases. So when the consciousness arises in we call the Panchavakara. Panchavakara is the realm of 5 aggregates. The realm of 5 aggregates. So where the 5 aggregates found in the human realm, that we can find all 5 aggregates there. So at that time, the consciousness arises based on any base arise depending on any base. So the Cetasika also arise based on, because they are just follower, we understand. They just follow to the consciousness. That's why they have these 4 characteristics. Arising together, ceasing together, having the same object, and have the same base with the consciousness. When these mentalities have these characteristics, we see Cetasika. It's not consciousness, but mentalities. Okay, so in this case, you have to remember the 4 characteristics of the Cetasika. And I will explain more about them, how these are related to them. So here, all conditional phenomena, they share the 3 phases of existence: Upada, Chitti, and Bhanga. Yeah, Upada arise, and finally, dissolution, disappear. Before the disappearance of or disappearance moment. And this is called the present phase, leading to the dissolution in very fast. So when they arise, as I mentioned, that the mentalities and the group of mentality consisting of the consciousness and mental feathers, they arise together. They cease together. It means they arise here. When the consciousness arises, mental feather also arise in this phase. And when the consciousness disappear in the dissolution phase, mental feathers also disappear. It means they have the same lifespan. So for the consciousness, lifespan of consciousness, how long the duration of the consciousness? So here, arising to the dissolution, how long? Very fast. In one blink, divided into the millions, and it's only one, like this, one moment. But Cetasika also the same lifespan, have the same lifespan, because they arise together and they cease together. Okay, here that this is, we don't need to explain here again. So here one moment arise and banga dissolution. So duration of the materialities and duration of the mentality sometimes same and sometimes different. This is explained in the chapter 4, Abhidhamma Sangha, chapter 4, in Comprehensive Manual of Abhidhamma. You can check there. Here, the 1154. Okay, so many of the materialities, so rupa, let's talk about. So for the mind movement, it's very short. So mind movement, we can say the mind movement and sub movement. So 3 sub movement equal to 1 mind movement. Mind movement is the lifespan of mentalities. And okay, so duration of the material phenomena. So another aspect, material phenomena, they are also arising and passing away, because nothing is permanent there. So what about the duration of the material phenomena? So here, most of the material phenomena have the 17 mind movement. 17 mind movement. So if we count by the sub movement, how many sub movement? 51, right? Right, 51. This is the lifespan of materialities. Okay, so generally, I want you to take a note here. Most of materiality have the 17 mind movement, or in the sub movement 51. And why I'm explaining, they're related to the how they arise and how they cease together. To explain about the characteristic. If you don't understand, you just keep in mind all the mental feather has, Cetasika has 4 characteristics, enough, right? For the beginner, it is enough. But later on, after understanding and studying after studying these other lecture, and you come back here and you listen or you understand, what Pandit is explaining. Okay, so here for the commentator, the lightning, duration of the lightning flash or the eye blinks, the billions of mind movement can elapse. Billions, not only millions. And this is the reference to the duration of one mind movement, right? How short. And by this moment, 17 is duration of their maturities. Generally, some will be exception. In the material study, we will know. And okay, so let's continue. Okay, come back to the 4 characteristics again. Ego bara arise together, doesn't matter. and then they arise together. And for the cease together means some maturities, in our body. Maturities are many billions of maturities arising in continuously. And also our mind continuously arises. So they arise together at the same moment. Doesn't matter. But here, cease together. Oh, maturity cannot cease together. Now you see, most of the maturity, although we can say they arise together, not only Cetasika, maturities, Metta, Rupa are also arising together. By this characteristic, we cannot identify Cetasika from maturities. They are at the same time, mental factor, Cetasika arising together with consciousness, and we can see materialities, many of maturity are also arising together. So what about this? They are also Cetasika? No. By the other characteristic, we can see ceasing together. As I mentioned, maturity have their longer duration, longer lifespan than mind movement. That's why when they arise together, they cannot sit together. They will continue or sustain mind movement like this. So in this second characteristic, we exclude many material phenomena produced by mind and karma. Although they arise together, they are not ceasing together. Okay, then alambana. Oh, here to exclude the two material phenomena of bodily intimation and barbaric intimation. So here, for your general knowledge, you can take a note that bodily intimation reference to kaya viññati. This is called kaya viññati. So produced by the mind. Our body move here purposely, to show something, come or go or hold on there. Like this, we make specific intentionally any action. I concept of the bodily intimation, kaya viññati. It is a kind of materiality produced by the mind. So the movement of the physical body, this is called bodily intimation, a kind of maturity, and other intimation. To let you know the meaning, and my mind produced the voice. That is called Bukha intimation. Bukha intimation. So these two, and this is different from the sound. Sound and Bukha intimation different. And here, two intimation have the same duration with the consciousness. Only one mind movement. How many altogether? How many materialities? You remember?
28.
Yes, 28. Among the 28 here, two have the same duration, same lifespan with the consciousness. Same lifespan with the consciousness. Yeah. So let's talk again. When the consciousness arises, Cetasika and maturities are arising in our body. Okay, in that case, if we talk about the ego pada arising together, so the Cetasika and also maturities are rising together. The maturities are not Cetasika. So how to identify cease together? If we say another characteristic, okay, to call the Cetasika, they must arise together and also they must cease together. Then at that time, many maturity, those have the longer duration already excluded. Oh, okay, they are not Cetasika anymore because they are not ceasing together. although they arise together with the consciousness at the same time. Then for true intimation, viññati, the viññatis are produced by the mind and have the same lifespan, have the same duration, also have only one mind movement. So, okay, they arise together, they sit together, we can see two body, and two intimation, viññati. But in the third characteristic of ekalambana means have the same object. To call the Cetasika, so there must be the characteristic of having the same object with the consciousness. Oh, yeah, here. It can exclude the two material phenomena. Why? The material phenomena does not have quality to take the object. Cannot know. The material phenomena, rupa, cannot know the object. That's why if we say, well, they must have the same object, no maturity at all. Okay, we understand. Or we call the Cetasika different from maturities. Different from maturities because the maturity does not have the ceasing together characteristic. The two does not have having the same object. Okay, so in this way, all 52 mental states remain under the name of Cetasika. So if you just learn, the 52 Cetasika, Phassa, Vedana, like this, it seems easy, just memorizing. But to understand how they get the name of Cetasika and how they can identify themselves under the name of Cetasika from the maturities and the characteristic. This is the characteristic. So arising together, ceasing together, have the same object. No more. Then here the ikavutuga is optional. This is optional characteristic because the only when they arise in the realm of five aggregates. So I already explained. Yeah, how many realm or existence have the five aggregate?
26.
26. And one aggregate is Asanya Sada, become 27. Then with the Arupa, become 31, right? So 26 realm of existence have five aggregate. They are called Panchavakara. So only when in the Panchavakara realm of existence, we can say, okay, and the Veda have the same base. Yeah. That's why I said this is optional characteristic. With the former three characteristics, we identify the 52 mentalities are called Cetasika. Okay, this is how the 52 mentalities get the name Cetasika. If we say this is the name of Cetasika, this name must apply to that, only this group. If this applies to everywhere, we cannot say this is the name of this mental phenomena. Okay, the word Cetasika or the name Cetasika related to only 52. Now you understand, right? Only 52 here. And for more information, because I said they are about the maturities. So this slide is to just give you some information. So if you cannot understand, or this is quite complicated, you put aside, don't worry. And here, if I have to explain about the nature of material phenomena here, the material phenomena produced by four origination. The Kamma, Citta, Uttu, Ahara. Okay, so here you see Kamma born matter. So we can classify the maturities into 4 types according to the origination. So we know that our body are part, inside the body. Some maturities are produced by the Kamma. They are called the Kamma born matter, Kammacharupa. And some are produced by the consciousness. This is called the consciousness born matter, or sometimes mind born matter. This is called the Cittacharupa. And some are produced by the temperature, heat and cold. This is called Uddu. So that's why Udducharupa. Then nutriment born matter. When we eat something, that nutriment produce the maturity inside our body. This is called Aharacharupa. So this doesn't matter. I will explain this later. When we study about the maturities, I'll explain. And this is just to explain what is Kamma born matter, what is consciousness, or like this. The material phenomena can be classified into 4 types according to their origination. Or if you want to number, no problem. That. So here you just need to know, okay, some maturities are produced by the Kamma, some are produced by the Citta, some are produced by Uddu, some are produced by the Ahara. That's all. There are 2 intimation. Here you see there, the last one. 2 medias of intimation, Kaya Vinyati, Citta Vinyati, born or Citta. They are produced by the only Citta. So in the outside of the living being, we cannot find this. If we make a movement intentionally to let the other people know, this is bodily intimation. But when the tree is the leaves are blown by the wind, shaken or moving around, they are not intimation, because they here born of Citta only. Like this. Okay, this is just to know, just sharing some information about the maturity. So here these 2, because they are born of Citta and they have the same duration with the consciousness, one mind movement. I just want to mention this only. Okay, so here, and many of material phenomena produced by the mind and Kamma, they can arise together. The first characteristic, okay, with consciousness, but they do not perish, do not cease. At the same time, as they go arising, Citta, but mostly endure. Mostly mean except there are some exception. Mostly endure less long for 17 mind movements. This is the reason why the characteristic of ceasing together is mentioned. Otherwise, arising together is okay. This is characteristic. But for the consciousness, we can see that cognizing the object, only one characteristic. But for mental factor, we have 4. Why we need 4? To make sure these terms referring to specific time, specific nature. So second one, why we need second one is to exclude some maturities produced by mind and Kamma. The second characteristic is need. And okay, so only 2, why need another one? Okay, here 2 material phenomena of bodily intimation and vocal intimation arise and sit together. So as I mentioned, that they have the same lifespan with the consciousness. So they arise together, they sit together with the consciousness. So, but they cannot take any objects, because all the maturity does not take the object, does not know the object. After the being is dead, the remaining maturities cannot know the object. So to exclude 2 types of intimation, the thought characteristic of the having the same object is need. So co-arising Citta and Cetasika have this object. They share the same object. they are taking the same object. That's why, although the bodily intimation and vocal intimation have the same duration, same lifespan with the consciousness, so they arise together, they cease together. But by the third characteristic of having the same object, they are no more considered as under the title of Cetasika. Okay, then here the same base is base was referring to the physical base. That's why only the place, the sensuous wall and fine material pure wall, where the aggregates of material form is found. We can see the 26 right only. The fourth characteristic apply. Okay, so this is how on the characteristics are needed to mention in 4 types. Okay, here if this is the mentality arise, they are at the same time in our body. Karma form matters arise, mindful matter arise, temperature form matter arise, and nutriment form matter also arising in our body at the same time. But after considering or reflecting on the second and third characteristic of the Cetasika, they are not suspended or no doubt becoming Cetasika. Maturities only. So in this way, we can identify Cetasika from maturities. So here, this is information. You just keep, and if you want to print out, and you just print out and see. Okay, so here 25 kinds of gamma producing. So how many gamma? Do you remember how many gamma altogether?
29 altogether.
Right.
8.
29 gamma, right? So altogether, but they are in four immaterial gamma, right? Immaterial kusala, they cannot produce because they are immaterial. That's why only 25 gamma. You don't need to confuse why it become 25. We said they're 29. No problem. And they are arising each moment, right? At each sub moment, not my moment, no, it's each sub moment, gamma is producing. That's why your body is aciding, there's aciding in this way. Gamma continuously produce. In one blink duration, billions of consciousness arise. Each mind moment has 3 phases. In every phase, every sub moment, gamma is producing activities. Starting from the rebirth linking consciousness, that continuously produce gamma. And 75 consciousness, 75 consciousness arise, produce. So the exception, how many exceptions? How many consciousness cannot produce?
14. 14 cannot produce.
14, right, 14. These 14 are Dripanja Vinyana. What is the Dripanja Vinyana?
2 eye consciousness from the Ahidhamma,
Right.
2 ear consciousness
Yeah.
from the Ahidhamma, and 2 nose consciousness, 2 tongue consciousness, and 2 body consciousness.
Right.
Altogether 10.
Yeah, these 10 cannot produce materialities. And also the
Arupa
Arupa,
result.
Arupa result and immaterial result. It's just that this is just information, because some of you if you are introduced in this way, or you are inspired to learn more. That's why I'm just trying to introduce. The more interesting. 75 in our body. When the mind arises in our mental process, 75 kinds produce matriarchies when they arise, starting from the arising of first bhavanga. So here, as I mentioned, process the first Paṭisandhi after the bhavanga. So the first bhavanga is that one in the life. Starting from the arising moment of first bhavanga, the consciousness produces matriarchies. Then temperature 1. So what does mean temperature? The referring to the fire element. Among the 4 elements, fire element, which comprise both cool and heat. Cool also temperature. The udu, heat also udu. That cool and heat inside our body, according to the circumstance, they can produce the matriarchies. And also nutriment, the nutritive essence. This is a kind of matriarchies. So in this lesson, I explained intimation, bodily intimation, verbal intimation, and here the nutritive essence and heartbeats. I introduce some matriarchies here, and here the nutritive essence also, can produce maturity inside. This is maturity produces maturity. Anyway, we understand inside our body, different types of maturities are arising. Among them, only 2 have the same duration with a consciousness. Right? These are the information given in this lesson. Based upon this information, we try to understand 4 characteristics of Cetasika. 4 characteristics of Cetasika. Now, as I said, this is not always in beginner. You consider a beginner level and you try to memorize. It's too boring. And reflecting on the nature of mentalities and maturity, how they arise. This is understanding Abhidhamma. If you understand, you can apply this knowledge into your daily life. Okay, so I will explain more about the classification in the next lesson. In the next lesson, we will continue by this slide. And here there are 3 groups of mental factors, which is called the Cetasika, Vipanyasa Cetasika. Okay, I will explain them. Okay, let's stop here. Thank you for your participation. Let's continue to Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Sayadaw, for the Abhidhamma lesson. We will now be moving on to the question and answer session. For everyone joining us today via the stream, thank you for joining us today. The live streaming will end here, and we will then proceed to the question and answer on Zoom. May you all be happy, healthy, and peaceful, and may you soon all realize the eternal peace of